Okay, so today's opener is going to resemble the quiz that you're going to take shortly after completing the opener. It's going to be solving equations and inequalities, multi-step with multiple variables on both sides of the equation or inequality. So let's take a look at the first one here. Now, anytime you have an equation or an inequality, we know at this point that we're going to circle our variables and we're going to draw our line of equality. Now, if you are still struggling what to do at this point, I recommend getting out your 5.8 notes. Your notes are going to tell you that you need to simplify each side of the equation. You're going to do that by first seeing if you can distribute. I'm going to look on my left side of the equation here and determine that I cannot distribute. So then I'm going to look at my right side of the equation. There I can distribute. I'm going to use that 2 and distribute to every number on the inside of that parentheses. So I'm going to take 2 times n and get 2n, 2 times -7 and get -14. I'm going to go ahead and bring down the numbers on my left, which is 5n plus 4, so I don't forget about them. After I distribute, the second part of my notes say, see if I can combine like terms. I'm going to look on my left side of my equation, and I don't have any terms that I can combine. I'm going to look on my right side of my equation and determine that, nope, no like terms that I can combine. Then I move to my new step, step 2. Step 2 is where I want to get the variables on the same side of the line of equality or on the same side of the equation. I do that by picking on the little guy, meaning I look at my term with the variable and determine which one's smaller, 5n or 2n. In this case, the 2n is smaller. So I'm going to move that 2n from the right side to the left. Because the 2n is a positive, I do the inverse operation or the opposite and I subtract it. So then I'm going to take 5n minus 2n to get 3n, bring down my plus 4 equals -14. The third step, according to my notes, tell me to solve as usual. So that means I ask myself, is there any addition or subtraction that I can undo? Well, of course, right here, this plus 4, I can undo that by doing the inverse operation of plus 4, which is subtracting 4. Again, whatever I do on one side of the line of equality, I must do on the other. That cancels. I bring down my 3n equals -14 minus 4. Because I'm adding or subtracting here, two negatives do not equal a positive. So what I have to think about, -14 minus 4, same sign, find the sum. It means to add. So 14 plus 4 is going to be 18. So same sign, find the sum, and then give it the same sign. So I give it the negative back. Now I'm down to a one-step equation. In order to get the variable by itself, I do the opposite of multiply, which is divide. N equals, so -18 divided by 3 is going to be a -6. So a positive divided by a negative, or a negative divided by a positive, is going to be a negative. Now, this next part on your opener is going to look a little different. It says, use this area to check your answer. We've been talking about this. We are now going to check to see if n does equal -6. You're going to do that by substituting -6 for the n. So I'm going to write my number 5 times -6 plus 4 equals 2 times n minus 7. I still like to draw the line down the line of equality just to keep my sides separate. And then I use PEMDAS to simplify each side to see if my n equals -6 is accurate or not. So I'm going to take, according to PEMDAS, I don't have parentheses, I don't have exponents, I do have some multiplication, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply 5 times -6 to get -30 plus 4. On my right side, I do have parentheses, but I can't do anything with the n minus 7, so I'm going to actually, oh, you guys see that mistake? What didn't I do? Instead of putting that in, what should I have put? I should have put a -6. So I can either, let's go back here now, so I can either solve within the parentheses here, or I can distribute. I personally prefer to distribute, so I'm going to go ahead and distribute that too. Okay? Then I go back to my left side and I solve. What's -30 plus 4? Well, that's going to equal -26. On my right side, I'm just going to take -12 minus 14. That's going to equal -26. If those numbers are the same on each side of your line of equality, then your answer is correct. So again, make sure that you actually substitute for each variable. Don't do what Miss Lidekin did and not substitute initially for the variable on the top right. Okay, now let's look at the back. The back side, wow, it's really long, but it's not a big deal because you guys are used to solving these. All you have to do is follow your notes. So we know all these h's, all these variables here, we're going to circle them. And then we're going to draw our line of equality through our inequality sign. And now I'm going to start to break down my inequality. I'm going to first ask myself, can I simplify each side of the inequality? And the answer is yes. Yes, I can. I can do that by starting to look to see if I can distribute. Excuse me. On my left side, I can distribute this -2 and multiply it by everything inside of the parentheses. So I'm going to end up with, I'm not going to forget about my 5h, so I bring that guy on down. And then I distribute -2 times 2h will equal -4h. Then -2 times +3 will get me a -6. I bring down my inequality sign. And then I ask myself, can I distribute on the right side? Of course I can. So I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to distribute it. So I'm going to have 2h minus 14 plus 6. Now, this is where a lot of people like to try to start getting everything on the same side of the line of equality. You can't do that. You have to next combine like terms. So on my left side, I have 5h minus 4h as a like term, and then nothing with the -6. So I'm going to go ahead and take 5h minus 4h to get 1h. Then bring down my -6 is less than. And then I look at my right side here. Do I have any like terms on my right side? Yes, my constants, the numbers without variables. I have -14 plus 6. But I like to bring down my term with the variable first. That didn't have a like term, so I just bring that guy on down. And then I go ahead and combine -14 plus 6, which is going to be -8. Okay, next step, I want to get my variables on the same side. So that's step 2. I do that by picking on the little guy. So is 1h or 2h? Which one's my smaller number? Well, it's going to be 1h. So I'm going to move this positive 1h from the left side to the right side. I do that by doing the inverse operation, or the opposite. So since it's a positive 1h, I'm going to subtract 1h from each side. Bring down a -6 is less than 2h minus 1h is going to be 1h minus 8. Now, to get the h by itself, I'm going to undo any addition or subtraction. So now I'm on step 3, solve as usual. So I can undo this subtraction by adding. If I add on one side of the line, I add on the other side. Cancels. So on my left side, I'm going to have +2 is less than 1h. Now, excuse me, you can choose to either divide by 1 to get that h by itself, and you're going to get 2, or because it's a +1, you can honestly just get rid of that 1, and it's going to be just h. So your answer is going to be 2 is less than h. However, we know we like our variable on the left, so you have to look here. Which one's bigger, 2 or h, according to the inequality sign? Well, the h is bigger. So when I go to put my variable on the left, I need to make sure that I still show that h is greater than 2. And then graph it. When I graph it, because it is greater than or less than, and not an equal sign under it, it's going to be an open, and then I'm going to graph it to the right, because basically I'm saying that h is greater than 2. So h is somewhere on the right side of 2 on the number line. Once you finish checking your opener, make sure that you turn it in, and then you can use your pink notes for your quiz. After you finish your quiz, then you need to work on the con topics. You had a total of 3 assigned to you this week, and worksheet 5.8. Con topics will be due Friday at 3:15, and your worksheet is actually going to be due today. Good luck, and I will see you guys on Monday.